Dr. Claire Amsel parked in front of the house and sat motionless, fingers clenched around the steering wheel. The white two-story building loomed against the bruised sky, its siding warped and weather-stained, shutters sagging like tired eyelids. The house on Kestrel Lane hadn't been touched since her grandmother's funeral 3 years ago. She shouldn't have come back. Her colleagues said as much. Take time off, Claire. Don't isolate yourself. But what was she supposed to do? The clinic was suffocating her, patients spilling their nightmares into her lap, colleagues whispering about her detachment, the hospital board breathing down her neck about the one case that went wrong. So she came here. The wind whistled through the dead garden as she stepped out. Gravel crunched under her boots, too loud, too final. She fumbled with the key at the door, surprised that muscle memory still knew which way to turn it. The smell hit her first. Not rot, something older, deeper. Dust, wood rot, and a faint sweetness, like fruit left too long on a counter. Inside, the house was frozen in time. Doilies on tables, a yellowing photo of her grandmother smiling stiffly, the grandfather clock still ticking though no one had wound it. She let her fingers drift across the wallpaper, surprised to feel how cold it was. The silence was heavier than she remembered. She set her bag down in the hallway and whispered, almost to herself, "All right, just a few weeks. Get your head straight, then leave." The house creaked in response. Claire didn't sleep well. The bed in her grandmother's old room felt foreign, as if she were trespassing. She woke often, at 1:32, at 2:04, at 3:17, each time convinced she'd heard something. Soft footsteps on carpet, the faint clink of dishes in the kitchen, a woman humming. By morning, she told herself it was just the house settling. It had been standing for nearly a century. Old places groaned. Still, when she walked the hallway, she felt watched. The mirrors didn't help. Her grandmother had loved them, big gilt-framed things that seemed to double the shadows. At breakfast, she turned one to face the wall. The scratching started that evening. She was reading on the couch, tea growing cold in her hands when she heard it, faint at first behind the walls. Scratch, scratch, pause, scratch. "Probably mice," she said aloud, forcing her voice into the empty room. But it didn't sound random. It came in little bursts, deliberate. Claire walked the perimeter of the room, pressing her ear to the plaster. The sound stopped when she did. She waited. Silence. Her phone buzzed, an email from the clinic. She ignored it. That night she dreamt of the hospital. The sterile walls pulsed like veins, and her patients sat in a circle around her, mouths open in silent screaming. One of them, a girl with hollow eyes, reached out and touched Claire's throat. "You can't leave us here," the girl whispered. Claire woke drenched in sweat. From the hallway came a faint tap. She told herself she would make the house her own. Claire spent the next 2 days unpacking boxes she hadn't opened since her apartment moved 3 years ago. Bookshelves filled with old case studies, sweaters that smelled faintly of antiseptic, journals she didn't remember writing in. It kept her busy. The scratching continued, usually at night, always when she tried to relax. Once she tried banging on the wall with a broom handle. The sound stopped instantly. She'd read somewhere that houses remembered things. The way the scent of perfume lingered in her grandmother's bedroom. The way the kitchen smelled like fried onions even after decades. But sometimes, when Claire paused in the middle of the hallway, she had the eerie sense that the house wasn't just remembering, it was watching. She found herself talking aloud more often. "It's just us," she said once while locking the bathroom door. "Nothing to worry about." Her phone rang. It was Robert, her supervisor. "Claire, you can't just disappear. The board wants your statement on the Carter case. We can't." She hung up. Her grandmother's phone stared at her from the mantel. In the picture, her grandmother's smile looked different than Claire remembered. Almost knowing. On the fourth night, the scratching changed. Claire was in bed when it began. Scratch, scratch, tap, then 2 taps, then a long pause. She sat up, heart pounding. This wasn't mice. She counted the taps, 2, then 3, then 1. It felt like a pattern. Claire slipped out of bed, bare feet silent on the cold floorboards. She pressed her ear to the wall. Nothing. Her voice came out hoarse. "Who's there?" The silence stretched. Then faintly, one soft tap. She jerked away from the wall. In the morning, she tried to rationalize it. She hadn't been sleeping well. She'd been under enormous stress. She'd been listening to too many of her patients' trauma narratives. Transference could be insidious like that. Still, she bought earplugs at the pharmacy. That night, she used them and still heard the tapping. By the 5th day, Claire had stopped checking her emails. Instead, she listened to old session recordings. She told herself it was work, reviewing cases, preparing to return to the clinic. But deep down, she was searching for something else, something she couldn't name. She played one recording of a patient named Layla, a woman in her 40s who had spoken about hearing voices in the walls. "They're not ghosts," Leela had said. "They're memories. People get stuck in places. They don't know they're dead." Claire remembered correcting her. "That's a projection of your trauma." But on the recording, something was wrong. Under Leela's voice, barely audible, there was another sound. A whisper. Claire turned up the volume. It wasn't words, more like breathing. She pulled off her headphones, heart racing. The house was silent. Until it was. Scratch, tap, tap. Claire stopped sleeping entirely. Even with the earplugs, the house seemed to find ways to wake her. A soft knock at the door, the groan of the stairs, the subtle sound of someone inhaling just behind her. She began writing in a journal, a grounding exercise, externalize the thoughts she told herself. Journal entry, day 6. Can't sleep. I hear them even through the plugs. Dreams are worse when I do sleep, patients sitting on my chest, whispering that I've abandoned them. I know this is stress, trauma contamination, but I can't stop thinking about the Carter case. I see her face everywhere, even in the mirrors here. She tried cleaning to distract herself, scrubbed the kitchen until her hands stung, vacuumed every rug, but even then she swore she felt the house breathing around her. That evening she stood in the hallway and shouted, "Stop it!" The house grew utterly silent. And then one soft tap. The tapping wasn't random anymore. She started keeping a log, counting the taps, trying to decipher them. Was it Morse code, a knock-and response game? That night she knocked 3 times. There was a pause, then 3 slow taps back. Her breath caught. "Who are you?" she whispered. 2 taps. She didn't know what that meant. Session transcript, patient Lila. "Claire, you said the voices are in the walls." Lila, not voices, people. They're waiting. They've been waiting for someone to hear them. "Claire, what do they want?" Leela to be let out. By now, Claire couldn't walk the house without feeling it. The faint, rhythmic pull of air against her skin, like the walls themselves were inhaling. She stood in the living room and whispered, "You're not real." The draft that answered her smelled faintly of perfume. Her grandmother's perfume. On the 9th day, she found the door. It was in the hallway, between 2 rooms she'd walked past dozens of times. But now there was a narrow wooden door she swore hadn't been there before. It had no knob, only a keyhole. When she pressed her ear to it, she heard the tapping. "Who's there?" she whispered. 1 tap. Her chest tightened. Journal entry, day 9. "There's a door. I think it was always there, but I never noticed it. It sounds ridiculous writing that. It's locked. I need to see what's inside." The dreams came back stronger. She dreamt of Emily Carter, the patient who died. In the dream, Emily sat on the edge of her bed, head tilted unnaturally. "You left me there," Emily said. "I tried to help you," Claire whispered. "No," Emily said, crawling closer. "You brought me here." Claire woke screaming. In the darkness, the tapping came from the new door. Claire opened another therapy recording. This one was from 6 months ago. A man named Jackson who had described persistent auditory hallucinations. Session transcript: patient Jackson. Jackson, it doesn't talk like you think, it doesn't use words, it knocks, it scratches, it waits. Sometimes I think it's learning me. Claire, learning you. Jackson, yeah, like it's figuring out how I think, so it can talk in a way I'll understand. She stopped cooking, stopped showering. The house was cold, but she barely noticed. Her whole world was the hallway now, the door, the knocks. When she left her bedroom at night, she sometimes thought she saw movement in the mirrors, patients she'd treated, faces warped and gaping silently. She stopped turning on the lights. That night, she sat against the locked door and whispered, "Are you my grandmother?" 2 taps. "Are you Emily?" 2 taps. "Do I know you?" 1 long tap. Her hand hovered over the keyhole. "What do you want?" 3 quick taps. She didn't know why, but she thought, "Let me in." Her therapy recordings changed. When she played one, she heard herself speaking, but the words weren't hers. Session transcript altered. "Claire, you can help them. All of them, you can stay." Patient, inaudible sobbing. "Claire, stop resisting. You came here for a reason." She didn't remember ever saying that. She replayed the file. The words were gone. On the 15th day, she woke to find the door ajar. No knob, no key, but open just enough for her to see darkness beyond. The tapping came again, slow, patient. She pressed her forehead against the frame and whispered, "Okay." And the darkness whispered back. The door led to a narrow staircase. Claire descended with her phone flashlight trembling in her hand. The air grew warmer, moist, as if she were breathing through someone else's lungs. The stairs ended in a room she didn't recognize, unfinished wood, no windows, only a single chair in the center. On the walls, faint carvings, tap, 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 repeated hundreds of times. She whispered, "What is this place?" From behind her, a woman's voice said, "You already know." Claire spun around, no one there. That night, the voice spoke again. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling when she heard it, soft as breath. "You can stay." "Who are you?" "You've been here before." It was her own voice. Journal entry, day 17. "I heard myself, I don't know how else to put it, like listening to a recording I didn't make. It said I've been here before. That can't be true, but I keep thinking about the Carter case, about Leela, Jackson. The house feels like them, like all of them." Claire started seeing them. Emily Carter in the kitchen, stirring tea with her head still tilted. Leela on the stairs, her eyes blank but knowing. Jackson in the corner of her room, smiling faintly as if he'd been waiting. They didn't speak. Except for Emily, who whispered once, "It's better if you stop fighting." She set up her phone to record herself, needing to hear her own voice to ground herself. Session transcript, CLAIRE self. "Claire, this is a cognitive exercise. My name is Claire Amsel. I'm in my grandmother's house. It's real, I'm real." Claire other, "You don't sound convinced." Claire startled, "Who said that?" Silence. When she played the recording back, the second voice was gone. Every word she spoke, the house seemed to absorb. When she muttered, "I'm scared," the wood creaked back, scared. When she begged, "Please stop," the wind through the hallway whispered, "Stop." The mirrors now always reflected her, with someone standing behind her. There was another door. In the basement, behind a shelf she'd never bothered moving. This one had no keyhole, just a handle wrapped in red-stained cloth. She grabbed it, the cloth was warm. The door opened to darkness deeper than any basement should allow. The walls inside were painted. A crude mural, her patients, dozens of them, faces twisted, eyes black pits. Some she recognized, others she didn't. In the center of the mural, herself drawn with charcoal smears, hands outstretched toward them. Beneath her figure, one word, stay. That night the voice came again. You can leave, it said softly. Walk out the front door, forget this. Claire sat up. What's the cost? A pause. You know the cost. She thought of her patients, the failures, the ones who had died. Why me? She whispered. Because you listened. Her phone buzzed. One final email from Robert. Claire, the board has voted. You're suspended indefinitely. We need you to return for review. You can't hide out there. She laughed until she couldn't breathe. The house chuckled with her. She woke to find them all standing in her room. Emily, Leela, Jackson, more she didn't recognize. They weren't corpses, they weren't ghosts, they were empty. One by one, they sat on the floor in a circle around her bed. Emily spoke. We need someone to keep the doors open. Claire felt her memories slip. Her parents' faces gone. The smell of her apartment gone. Her own voice sounded unfamiliar. But the patients, they were clearer than ever. Journal entry, day 26. I think I've been here before. I think I've always been here. The house isn't haunted. The house is them. Or maybe it's me. Maybe I was theirs all along. In the hallway, she ran her fingers along the walls. They were soft like skin. When she pressed her ear against them, she didn't hear scratching. She heard breathing. Dozens of them. And beneath that, her own. Emily spoke to her in the kitchen. This isn't a house, it's us. Everyone who came here, everyone you couldn't save, everyone who couldn't leave. Claire shook her head. You brought them here, Emily continued. Your grief built the walls, your guilt gave us life, and now you stay. Claire sat in the basement, staring at the mural. Her painted self smiled now. The faces around her smiled too. She understood. You need someone to keep the doors open, she said. Yes, Emily said, and you will. Claire nodded. Claire no longer checked her phone. She no longer journaled. She sat in the chair in the first hidden room, listening to the breathing walls, the tapping code, the house's soft whispers. And when the next visitor arrived, another lost soul, another patient, she smiled and said, Welcome, you can stay. The house sighed in contentment and closed around her. Her own voice sounded unfamiliar. But the patients, they were clearer than ever. Journal entry, day 26. I think I've been here before. I think I've always been here. The house isn't haunted. The house is them. Or maybe it's me. Maybe I was theirs all along. In the hallway, she ran her fingers along the walls. They were soft like skin. When she pressed her ear against them, she didn't hear scratching. She heard breathing. Dozens of them. And beneath that, her own. Emily spoke to her in the kitchen. This isn't a house, it's us. Everyone who came here, everyone you couldn't save, everyone who couldn't leave.